The door slammed shut with a finality that echoed through the empty hallway. Like the last nail in a coffin I didn't even know was being built. I was 11, standing there in our cramped apartment, clutching a crumpled $20 bill in my sweaty palm, the only lifeline my mom had tossed me before vanishing into the airport taxi. "Be good, kiddo," she'd said with a wink, her suitcase bursting with excitement for her month-long European adventure. "Pizza money, you'll be fine. Fine?" The word tasted like ash in my mouth as I watched her go, her laughter fading down the stairs. I stood frozen for what felt like hours, the echo of the door still ringing in my ears. The apartment, once a chaotic haven of Mom's scattered dreams, half-packed boxes from her latest big idea, posters of far-off places she'd never been, now felt like a tomb. I pocketed the 20, feeling its edges dig into my skin, a reminder that this was real. She was gone. For a whole month, and I was alone. That first night, the silence was deafening. I never noticed how noisy our life was before Mom's constant chatter on the phone, the clatter of her heels as she paced, dreaming up schemes to strike it rich. Now, every creak of the floorboards sounded like an intruder, every gust of wind against the window like a ghost whispering my name. I wandered into the kitchen, flipping on the light that buzzed like an angry bee. The fridge hummed like an old friend, but inside, it was a wasteland. Half a carton of milk turning sour, a wilted apple with brown spots like bruises, and some expired yogurt crusted at the edges. I poured a glass of the milk, grimacing at the lumps, but drank it anyway. Waste not, want not, as Mom always said when she bothered to cook. I tried to distract myself with TV, flipping through channels of laughing families and adventure shows where kids my age had parents who actually cared. But the remote felt heavy in my hand, and soon I turned it off, curling up on the couch with a blanket that still smelled like her laundry detergent. Sleep came in fits, haunted by dreams of airports and waving goodbyes that turned into endless chases where I could never catch up. I had school, at least that was something normal. Locking the door behind me with a spare key she'd left on the counter. School was a blur, a temporary escape where I could pretend everything was okay. My teacher, Mrs. Harlan, with her kind eyes and endless supply of stickers, asked if I was feeling all right. "Just a headache," I lied, forcing a smile. Lunchtime was the hardest, watching classmates unpack sandwiches and fruit, their mom's notes tucked inside with hearts and encouragements. I had nothing, so I sat in the corner, pretending to read a book while my stomach growled like a caged animal. After school, I stopped at the corner store, Mr. Patel's place with its jangling bell and shelves of temptations. With the 20 burning a hole in my pocket, I carefully selected cheap ramen noodles, a jar of peanut butter, and a loaf of the cheapest bread. "That's $8.47, Mr. Patel said, his bushy eyebrows furrowing as he eyed me. "Where's your mom, little one?" "She's at work," I mumbled, avoiding his gaze. He nodded, but I saw the doubt in his eyes. Back home, I rationed it out in tiny portions, like a squirrel hoarding nuts for winter. A spoonful of peanut butter on a slice of bread for dinner, a cup of ramen boiled in the microwave for lunch the next day. I told myself stories to fill the void, imagining Mom sipping coffee in Paris under the Eiffel Tower, her hair blowing in the wind like in the movies. She'd send postcards, I thought, with pictures of castles and rivers. But days turned into a week, and the mailbox remained empty, just bills and junk mail that I stuffed into a drawer, pretending they didn't exist. The hunger started small, a nagging whisper, but by day 5, it was a roar. Not just in my stomach, but in my chest, a hollow ache that whispered, "You're forgotten." I lay awake at night, staring at the ceiling cracks that looked like maps of unknown lands, wondering if Mom was thinking of me at all. Was she dancing in Rome, tasting gelato that melted on her tongue while I scrounged for crumbs? The apartment began to reflect my despair, the sink filled with unwashed bowls, the floor sticky from spilled soup I couldn't afford to waste. I tried to clean, but my arms felt like lead, and tears blurred my vision. One evening, I found an old photo album under the couch, flipping through pages of happier times. Me as a toddler on Mom's lap, both of us grinning at a beach we'd visited once. Where had that mom gone? The one who baked cookies on rainy days and read bedtime stories with funny voices? Week 2 hit like a storm. The money was gone, vanished into thin air after a desperate splurge on milk and eggs that I hoped would last. Now I scavenged what I could leftover lunches from classmates, sneaking bites of abandoned sandwiches when no one was looking. Tommy from class noticed once, his freckled face twisting in confusion. "Why are you eating my crusts?" he asked. I laughed it off as a joke, but inside, shame burned hot. At home, the apartment grew colder, the heat bill unpaid, and the thermostat mocking me with its red, low-balance light. I layered on every sweater I owned, piling blankets on the couch because the bed felt too big and empty, a vast ocean where I might drown in loneliness. Nights were the worst. One evening, as rain pelted the windows like accusing fingers, I curled up tight, my body shaking not just from cold, but from sobs I couldn't hold back. "Mom," I whispered into the darkness. "Come back." The thin walls betrayed my cries, carrying them to the neighbors. Mrs. Lopez next door, with her yappy dog and endless telenovelas, must have heard. Or maybe it was the trash piling up outside. Bags splitting open with the weight of my neglect, drawing flies and curious stares. I avoided eye contact in the hallway, hurrying to school with my head down. School became harder to endure. My grades slipped. How could I focus on math when my head throbbed from hunger? Mrs. Harlan pulled me aside one day, her voice gentle. "Is everything okay at home, sweetie?" I nodded vigorously, but my eyes darted away, betraying me. "My mom's just on a trip," I said, the words tasting like lies. She offered me an apple from her desk, and I devoured it in the bathroom, juice running down my chin as tears mixed in. That small kindness felt like a lifeline, but it wasn't enough. Back home, I experimented with recipes, mixing water with the last dregs of peanut butter to make a thin soup, or chewing on dry ramen noodles like chips. Each bite was a battle, my stomach cramping in protest. As the days dragged on, paranoia set in. What if someone broke in? What if I got sick? I barricaded the door with a chair at night, jumping at every shadow. I'd draw maps on scrap paper, plotting escapes to places Mom had described. The canals of Venice, the mountains of Switzerland. But reality intruded, harsh and unforgiving. The power flickered once, a warning that bills were overdue, and I panicked, turning off every light to conserve. By the end of week 3, I was a ghost in my skinny limbs, shadows under my eyes like bruises from invisible punches. The mirror showed a stranger, hollow-cheeked and wild-haired. I missed Mom with an ache that twisted my guts, but anger simmered beneath it. How could she do this? Was I just an afterthought, a kid cramping her style? One afternoon, returning from school with an empty backpack and emptier heart, I heard the knock. It wasn't the soft rap of a neighbor. It was authoritative, insistent. My heart pounded like a drum, blood rushing in my ears. I peeked through the peephole, seeing 2 adults in plainclothes, badges glinting. I opened the door a crack, chain still latched. "Can I help you?" My voice was small, trembling. They introduced themselves, social workers from Child Protective Services, their faces kind but stern, eyes scanning past me into the chaos. "We're here to check on you," the woman said, her tone soothing yet probing. They pushed gently inside when I unlatched the door, their gazes widening at the mess. Dirty dishes towering in the sink like a precarious monument, empty cupboards yawning open, and me, a disheveled kid with clothes hanging loose. They asked questions I didn't want to answer, their notebooks flipping open like judgment books. "Where is your mom? How long has she been gone?" I mumbled excuses, defending her because that's what kids do. They love even when it hurts. "She's coming back soon," I insisted, my voice cracking. "She left money." But the lie hung heavy, and they knew. As they searched the place, methodically opening drawers and cabinets, their expressions darkened. The man paused in the living room, picking up an unpaid bill from the floor. The woman ventured into Mom's bedroom, her footsteps muffled on the carpet. What they found in her bedroom drawer shattered everything. It wasn't just the neglect they saw. It was the secrets hidden away, waiting to unravel the fragile web of my world. Letters, stacks of them, sealed and forgotten or deliberately ignored. And among them, evidence of a life Mom had kept from me, a betrayal deeper than abandonment. But in that moment, as they called for backup, I didn't know the full extent. All I felt was the coffin lid closing, the finality of it all crashing down. What CPS found made her lose everything, and it started with a locked drawer I never knew existed. Tucked away under stacks of old bills and forgotten photos was a stash of letters, yellowed and sealed, addressed to me from a father I'd been told was dead. My hands trembled as the social worker, Ms. Rivera with her warm brown eyes and clipboard clutched like a shield, handed one to me. Her voice was soft but urgent, cutting through the haze of my exhaustion. "This changes things, sweetie. Take a deep breath." I peeled open the envelope, the paper brittle like autumn leaves. And the words inside exploded like a bombshell in my chest. My dad wasn't gone. He'd been searching for me for years, blocked by Mom's lies and her whirlwind life that left no room for anyone else's pain. "Dear son," it began, the handwriting steady and unfamiliar. "I've missed every birthday, every milestone. Your mother won't let me near you, but I fight every day." Tears blurred the ink, and suddenly the apartment didn't feel so empty. It felt crowded with ghosts of what could have been. Ms. Rivera and her partner, Mr. Thompson, a tall man with a mustache that twitched when he frowned, exchanged glances that spoke volumes. They didn't just stop at the letters. They dug deeper, their search methodical and unyielding. In that same drawer, buried beneath the envelopes, were crumpled court documents, faded but damning. Custody agreements Mom had signed but ignored, restraining orders she'd violated by moving us state to state without notice. There were bank statements, too, showing child support payments from Dad that had trickled in monthly, only to be siphoned off into Mom's adventure fun trips to beaches, weekends in Vegas, anything to escape the mundane life she claimed trapped her. I sat on the edge of Mom's unmade bed, the sheets still rumpled from her hasty packing, as they photographed everything. "This isn't just neglect," Mr. Thompson muttered, his voice low but laced with anger. "This is fraud. She's been pocketing money meant for you." My mind reeled. All those times I'd gone hungry, wearing hand-me-downs from thrift stores, while she splurged on herself. The $20 she'd left me wasn't carelessness. It was calculation, a bare minimum to assuage her guilt before jetting off. It was a deliberate abandonment, fueled by secrets she'd buried deeper than I could imagine. The social workers whisked me away that afternoon to a temporary foster home, a cozy house on the outskirts of town with a family who had extra beds and warm meals waiting. Mrs. Foster, with her apron dusted in flour and a smile that crinkled her eyes, handed me a bowl of spaghetti that night, the first real food in weeks. But even as the sauce warmed my belly, the ache in my heart persisted. I lay in the unfamiliar bed, staring at the glow in the dark stars on the ceiling, replaying the day's chaos. How had I not seen the signs? Flashbacks haunted me. Mom's late nights out, her vague stories about my hero dad who died in a car accident when I was a baby. Lies, all of it. The letters painted a different picture, a man who'd fought for custody after their messy divorce, only to be painted as the villain in Mom's narrative. He'd sent gifts too, the social workers later told me, packages returned unopened, cards shredded before they reached me. Days blurred into a whirlwind of interviews and evaluations. Psychologists with notepads asked about my feelings, probing gently, "Do you miss your mom?" Of course, I did the version of her that laughed at my jokes, but danced in the kitchen to old radio tunes. But anger bubbled up too, hot and unfamiliar. "She left me," I whispered in one session, fists clenched, "with nothing." The investigation uncovered more. Emails from Dad's lawyer ignored pleas for visitation. Even a police report from years ago where Mom had accused him falsely to gain full custody. Born in a small town hospital, I'd been whisked away before Dad could even hold me, Mom claiming he was unfit. But the records showed otherwise. He was a steady mechanic with a home and a heart full of love, derailed by her manipulations. While I navigated this new reality in the foster home learning board games with the other kids, tasting homemade cookies that didn't come from a package, the authorities built their case. Phone calls flew between states, subpoenas issued, and Dad was notified. I remember the day Ms. Rivera sat me down in the living room, sunlight streaming through lace curtains. "Your father wants to meet you," she said, her hand on my shoulder. My heart raced excitement mixed with terror. What if he didn't like me? What if I was too broken from Mom's chaos? But the anticipation built like a storm, and meanwhile, Mom's plane touched down back in the States. I'd imagined her return 1,000 times during those lonely nights, her bursting through the door with souvenirs, arms open for a hug, apologies tumbling out. Instead, she was met by police at the airport, handcuffs clicking shut as flashbulbs popped from reporters who'd caught wind of the story. Her face, captured in the news clip I watched from my temporary foster home on a grainy TV, was a mask of shock and regret, the kind that comes too late. Mascara-streaked cheeks, hair disheveled from the flight, she mouthed, "What?" as they read her rights. The headline screamed, "Mother abandons child for Eurotrip secrets exposed," and for a moment, pity flickered in me. But then I remembered the empty fridge, the cold nights, and it hardened into resolve. The court proceedings were a blur, a sterile room with wooden benches, and a judge who peered over glasses like an owl. Mom appeared via video from jail, her usual sparkle dimmed, pleading her case. It was just a vacation. I love my son. But the evidence piled up: witness statements from neighbors who'd seen my isolation, financial records of misappropriated funds, and those damning letters. "I sent letters every month," he said, eyes locking on mine from across the room. I never stopped fighting. The gavel fell, custody revoked, charges of child endangerment and fraud sticking like glue. Mom lost everything. Her freedom with a sentence of probation and community service, her apartment seized for unpaid debts, her reputation shredded in the local news. Friends she'd bragged to about her adventures turned away, whispers following her like shadows. I visited her once in a supervised room with plastic chairs and vending machines humming. She cried, reaching for my hand. "I'm sorry, kiddo. I thought I'd come back better." But her words felt hollow, echoes of the excuses I'd heard before. I pulled away, not out of hate, but because trust, once shattered, doesn't glue back easily. But for me, it was the beginning of something raw and real. The reunion with Dad happened on a crisp autumn day, leaves crunching underfoot as I waited on the foster home's porch. He pulled up in a battered truck, stepping out with arms full of awkward gifts, a baseball glove, a model car kit, things an 11-year-old might like. His face, weathered but kind, crumpled when he saw me. "You look just like your grandma," he choked out, pulling me into a hug that smelled of engine oil and fresh laundry. Tears soaked his shirt, and for the first time in months, I let mine fall freely too. We drove to his house, a modest bungalow with the backyard swing and a dog named Buddy, who licked my face like I was long-lost family. Over pizza that night, not from a frozen box, but hot and cheesy from a local joint, he shared stories. "But you're home now." Adjusting wasn't easy. Nightmares of empty apartments woke me, and I tiptoed to Dad's room, finding him awake with a book, ready to talk. School improved, new clothes that fit, lunches packed with notes like the ones I'd envied. I made friends, joined a little league team where Dad coached, his cheers the loudest in the stands. Therapy helped unpack the baggage, the abandonment, the lies, the hunger that wasn't just physical. I learned what family can mean, not a fleeting adventure, but roots that hold you steady through storms. Dad taught me to fish on lazy Sundays, to fix bikes in the garage, to trust that love doesn't come with conditions or suitcases. Yet, even now as I look back from the vantage of years past, that $20 bill sits framed on my shelf, a reminder of the month that broke me open and rebuilt me stronger. It's yellowed now, edges frayed, but it symbolizes resilience, the kid who survived on scraps and emerged whole. Mom's choices cost her custody, her freedom, and maybe her soul. She's out there somewhere, piecing together a life without me, occasional postcards arriving with strained apologies. Mine? They gave me a second chance at life, a father who shows up every day, a home where the fridge is always full, and a heart that's learned to heal. The scars remain, faint lines on my soul, but they've made me empathetic, strong, unwilling to abandon anyone the way I was. And in that, there's a quiet victory, a story not of loss, but of found truths and unbreakable bonds.